Thank you, Madam Chair. We appreciate this. Mr. Welsh, earlier this month, Senator Lujan and I sent a letter to the FAA and DOT requesting a briefing on the status of retrofitting aircraft altimeters to prevent interference with 5G networks. And my staff then reiterated that request, and once again, no response from the FAA. The July 1 retrofit deadline is coming. I don't know about you, but I don't know many passengers who will be happy if their flights are canceled or grounded when they hear the FAA failed to address a situation that they have known about in advance. So I hope you will go back to the Secretary and you will make it known that we need to have a response on this. Let me ask you one other question. You've had the deadline for the lead-free aviation fuels for the piston engine aircraft, and that's to be by the end of 2030. And as far as we understand, there is no validated replacement for these fuels. So how will this initiative impact the general aviation fleet, which includes essential services like emergency services and law enforcement that is in our rural areas?
Thank you, Senator. First, I'm not familiar with the letter you sent, and I'm sorry that you haven't received a follow-up, but I will commit to bringing your request back and following up with you. Second, regarding removing leaded aviation gasoline and leaded aviation emissions, what I want to highlight there, that's a great question, and the FAA last year launched the EAGLE initiative, which is about eliminating leaded aviation gasoline emissions by 2030. And we launched it in partnership with the general aviation community, with the different associations, to make sure that we do so that we can find and identify replacement fuels and the additional strategies that are needed to ensure that we do so safely and economically, and absolutely take into account the factors that you mentioned, such as emergency vehicles and other things. So we are working very closely with the General Aviation Committee community to do that in an environmentally beneficial but also safe and economical way. Thank you.
Thanks. I appreciate that. Mr. Pierce, last year, Oak Ridge National Lab worked with firefighters in the FAA to deploy drones to protect wildfires, and they monitored the heat in transmission lines and transformers. And in your testimony, you mentioned that NASA is also using this technology, including emerging airspace management technology, to combat active wildfires and improve emergency response. So what I want to hear from you is, how do we encourage innovators, first responders, researchers in this work, and what tools are they needing to carry forward these innovations so that they have this to combat fires and utilize new technologies?
Thank you, Senator. Yeah, one of the first things we are doing is through an interagency and intergovernmental process, developing a common concept of operations for wildfire management. And what that'll allow everybody to do is to work to a common vision for the future. We can develop a common roadmap. That way, innovators have a path to implementation for the innovations they are developing in this space. So that's the sort of the first, I think, very important step to improving.
Okay, then let me ask you this. If you've got NASA, DOE, other agencies that are working on this, what applications other than law enforcement and wildfire maintenance, transmission line monitoring, are you considering using these technologies for?
Well, any variety of emergency response operations,
Okay.
The aftermath of storms, those kinds of things.
Okay, that sounds good. I know my time is up against the clock. Mr. Scrivener, I'm going to come to you with a question. Written response is fine on the ADSB. Looking at that and the benefits that are there for pilots, but we'll submit that one as a QFR for you. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Senator Lujan?
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate this hearing and everyone that's here for this important panel as well. Mr. Welsh, thank you for joining us today to discuss the work at the Federal Aviation